Okay, I just want to show you a little bit how I created this patch. So you can see there are a lot of patch cables here and it looks very complicated, but it's actually a very simple patch to get this rhythmic performance. So the source of all the beat is this LFO here in the middle. I'm taking the pulse out into my sequencer here, and I'm also taking the pulse out into the TRIQ164. And the TRIQ164 is a great trigger sequencer because it has 4 different channels, and I'm using all 4 of them in this patch. So the channel number 4 has all the steps set. I'm taking that into the TOPOGRAF up here. So I'm clocking the TOPOGRAF grid sequencer from the TRIQ164. And I'm just taking the trigger 1 into my kick drum, the trigger 2 into a snare drum, and trigger 3 into a closed hi-hat. And just taking my drum kit is a little bit low, so I'm taking that through a signal amplifier and back into the mixer. So the kick and the drum kit are being mixed together, and they're all both driven from the TOPOGRAF here. So there's another rhythmic element which is coming from the low peg. So the low peg gets a trigger from channel 1. And you can see here there's some odd, weird rhythm that I've punched into this, and it's getting a noise input. So that makes the second or the other drum part. Now for the musical things, I'm using channels 2 and 3, and they're both coming from this oscillator here. So I'm taking the MIDI CV from my keyboard, putting that into oscillator 1, and the square wave goes into the wasp filter, and that's my lead sound. And the wasp filter goes then to a VCA, which is open and closed by an envelope, by the bottom envelope here. And that envelope is triggered as well by the trigger sequencer. Now this filter also has a CV control, and that opens the cutoff frequency of the filter. And I'm abusing the analog sequencer here to actually give me different voltage settings for the cutoff filter. So instead of regulating the pitch, which probably most people do, I'm actually using the sequencer to regulate and change the cutoff frequency. So I'm getting different variations on each step of the filter. And because that's voltage is added to whatever I have here, I can play around during the performance with the frequency here being very low. Then each additional voltage here would just open it a little bit more, or I open it up so it all becomes wider. The bass sound is from the same oscillator, and the beauty of the OSCD is that I get a sub-oscillator, and I'm using that, and that goes into the Nile filter, and the Nile filter output then goes into my mixer, and the CV control, the cutoff frequency here comes from an envelope. So there are no shenanigans here, just a simple envelope, and that's being triggered by channel 3 here. So that's another different rhythmic pattern. So all in all, although it looks complicated, it is a very straightforward patch. I'm using an LFO as a clock source, and I'm then using the TRIQ164 as my distributor of the different clock signals, and I'm getting the percussion signals from the TOPOGRAF and the low peg, and I'm getting a bass and a lead sound using that filter sequencer method from this oscillator, the square wave and the sub-oscillator. And that's really it. I hope you enjoyed this little piece, and please like and subscribe my videos.